Heard about David. I didn't know if we could do it.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're going to start.
Attention, please. It's 5 o'clock. We will now reconvene the February 13th meeting. At this time, I'll ask Dave Everson if you've got any relative information for us.
I do, thank you. I want to share my screen with you. You had asked Mr. Councilman Bear had asked for, please forgive me for using your informal, asked for some feedback. I want to get some feedback from some department heads. We provided a survey to the department heads. I just want to share the results of that with you briefly. There's 2 parts. We asked to get the department heads. This is the results from 5 of 9. There were some other discussions with a couple of others that were before the survey went out. The first question is about the city of Loudon. The second question is about Loudon utilities. The third is about providing leadership and professional development, how important employees feel that the manager pays attention to those things, that's important to them. And the fourth is that how important is it to have a professional local government executive helping the city prepare for coming growth changes and anticipated risks. In all 4 of those questions, they all felt that it was very important, at least the first 2 very important, and then very and somewhat important for the last 2. The second part of the questions, and I've emailed all of you this so you have a copy of it. The next question was, well, the candidates, which did they feel had the greatest strengths in the following categories? These categories were, as you know, listed in the profile, and also the items that were Loudon's future opportunities and challenges. And so I wanted you to see the results there. In some categories, Mr. McCormick, in fact, most categories, some categories, Mr. McCormick performed, or it was evaluated a little bit higher, but there were several categories where Mr. Pessimer they anticipated had those strengths in particular areas. And so I just wanted to share that with you. This was the results that came from the department heads in terms of their evaluations. Do you have any questions? If anybody's speaking, I cannot hear.
I don't have any. Does anybody on council have any questions?
No.
I don't think so, Dave.
Okay, and understanding the current climate and where things may go, I wanted to be sensitive to that, and also wanted the staff to be sensitive to that as well. So I hope that the questions were appropriate to give you feedback without creating any angst for those making it or for anybody that may be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We've had a couple of people to sign in on the sign-in sheet. We'd like to speak. Chase Randolph.
Thank you, council, for the opportunity to speak. As a city of Loudon, the Loudon utility, what is our greatest asset? Is it the buildings we own, the land we own, the infrastructure we control? No. Our greatest asset are our employees. These utility employees sitting behind us. We're here tonight on a consensus that Jeff Harris would be the best choice for our general manager position. I've spoken to department heads in both the city and the utilities, and they echo that sentiment. I'm an elected official just like yourselves. I represent the same exact people you all represent inside the city limits. Plus, I represent another 6,000 people outside the city limits that are all LUB customers. I've received numerous phone calls in favor of Mayor Harris. I feel like I would be doing my constituents a disservice if I didn't relay that message to you all. So I humbly ask you all tonight to listen to these employees, to listen to the people that we represent. Thank you very much.
Jeff Harris.
Thank you, council. If it's okay, I've written my comments down, so I'll make sure I don't leave anything out. I want to thank council for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I also want to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of the amazing employees and citizens who have shown me unbelievable love and support during this process. I am humbled and will be forever grateful. First and foremost, the opportunity to serve and represent my community as a council member and mayor over the past 9 years has been one of the highlights of my adult life. I am proud of the service I've provided and the accomplishments council and I have made together. If given the opportunity, my desire is to serve on an even higher capacity as city manager. Over the past 9 years, I have worked very closely with the 2 previous city managers on city projects. I can actually count 12 to 15 projects that I have been personally involved in at different levels. Some I've actually recruited the new business owner to come to Loudon, while others I've helped them relocate their building in a new area for a better location. A few I've even physically volunteered to help with the actual remodeling of their building to help them get their business open. I did all of this because our town and community needed it. I would also like to take this opportunity to clarify some half-truths being discussed and shared on social media concerning my involvement in the search process. As for me, voting in favor of using a search firm, that's 100% accurate. I voted in support of that motion because that was what the majority of the council and LUB was in favor of doing. I supported that, but was also aware that a search firm simply advertises and compiles a list of potential candidates for the position. They're able to cast a wider net for the pool of applicants. They do not make recommendations for who should be a finalist and receive an interview. And they do not make any of the final decisions. They simply create a pool of candidates to possibly select from. There is no obligation to hire any of the candidates compiled by a search firm. I've also heard the phrase backdoor politics and good old boy system, both being implied in this situation. But just imagine for a moment how the social media narrative would have read if only a few internal candidates applied, were interviewed, and a selection was made from that small pool of candidates. To sum it up, there's nothing wrong with using a search firm to create a list of potential candidates. The decision is council's and LUB's, that's it. As far as my timeline for submitting my resume for the position, this was done within the proper guidelines established by City Council and LUB. I appropriately submitted my resume in December after serving 3 months as interim city and LUB manager. When the position became vacant, I wasn't immediately convinced that this was a venture I wanted to take on. I considered it an honor to serve the city of Loudon as mayor, and I knew that if I were to be selected for this position, I could no longer serve in that role. But throughout those 3 months of serving as interim city and LUB manager, I saw firsthand just how talented and professional our city staff and LUB department heads were in performing their jobs. I want to be a part of this amazing team to help Loudon be the best small town in East Tennessee. After my resume was submitted, I withdrew from any and all involvement of the selection process. I have not reviewed any candidate resumes or discussed any of the candidates with council members or LUB directors. I did sit in on the interviews as a bystander without asking any questions to the potential candidates. As mayor, yes, I could vote for myself for this situation, thus breaking the tie. But I feel that is inappropriate, and I think the majority of you would agree with that too. Lastly, I'd like to address the subject of qualifications. I know it's been stated that I do not meet the qualifications for this position. I strongly disagree with those statements. As a matter of fact, after reviewing the 29 characteristics referred to in the ideal candidate section of the brochure, I believe I possess 24 of those characteristics. I admit I do not have a 4-year degree, but I'm very proud of the fact that I obtained an associate's degree, a 2-year degree, 10 years after high school, while holding down a full-time job, enrolled as a full-time student, also while parenting 2 young children. All each of you know about any of the candidates compiled by the search firm is what you've read on their resume and perhaps a brief introduction with each one of them. The final 3, which I now understand is down to 2, you spent a few hours getting to know. You have no idea how they will interact or fit within our organization, what their leadership skills are like, or their management philosophies. You will have to make some risky assumptions. On the other hand, I'm a lifelong ambassador for Loudon, and I have been in a supervisory, a plant manager, and a general manager role for over 30 years. I'm pretty transparent, and I have no hidden agendas. I can also promise you, even without ever looking at any of the other candidates' resumes, there is not a single one who loves and cares for this community more than myself. I hope I've demonstrated that over the past 9 years. In conclusion, and I want to make this very clear, I am committed in my role as mayor of the city of Loudon, and I will support 100% the decision council makes and LUB makes without question. Thank you for your time and attention.
I want to make a statement here. For some time now, I have questioned why we as a city have to go out and hire someone from somewhere other than Loudon to come in and run our city when we have qualifiable people right here among us that have capabilities to run our city on a daily basis. We have engineers from Loudon employed in our city, so we wouldn't need to hire another engineer to run our city, just someone that has capabilities to manage our city. If there are classes that our individuals need to get to up to speed, then we need to supply that individual can come our city, can move our city forward. Our city always has tasks to rely on. As far as our citizens in our community is concerned, it is easier for our citizens to communicate with our manager that has close ties to our community. It is always better communication when you have someone you know other than someone from outside your community that don't know the ands and ifs from the past. These are just some of the reasons for wanting to hire a local Loudonian for our city manager and general manager position. And that's why I support Jeff Harris. All right, floor is open.
Well, I was going to ask you to recognize me. There's a point that I'd like to get some clarification on, or for everybody to get some clarification on. Councilman Cardwell had read a state law earlier in this meeting when we had it last week, and it concerned me because you all know I had a 40-year career as a law enforcement officer before I retired, and I would never go out and try to intentionally break the law by supporting a situation where we would hire our mayor to be the city manager. And so I contacted our attorney, Chris Fry, and I'd like for you to recognize our attorney to explain how that particular state law is not applicable to our city.
Chris, you got any?
Yes, and again, I heard Councilmember Cardwell state when he was describing TCA 6-35-201, which says that no council member shall be eligible for the position of manager within 2 years after the expiration of the member's last councilmanic term. That does not apply to the city of Loudon. That, according to an earlier code section in that same chapter, these provisions only apply to those cities that have adopted chapters 30 through 36 of this title by referendum or have adopted them by reference. The city of Loudon has not done that. And again, I believe Councilmember Cardwell stated that.
Okay.
But I've got several questions about it, so I'm happy to clarify it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. This time I'll entertain motions from council or discussion or.
Well, I mean, there were some things that were said last week that I've been thinking about this week, and then particularly with what's occurred here tonight. And, you know, Eric, I actually understand whenever you said last week that Jeff didn't have the qualifications. And I've been thinking about that. Whenever we hired Dave to do this for us, we had him looking for an ideal candidate. And I think we all agree that we didn't find the ideal candidate. We didn't find the perfect person. And I think when the process began, I believe you're right. Jeff didn't have the qualifications. But you know, over the last 4 or 5 months, I think it's pretty evident tonight when you have all these employees that come in here and support him that he has the ability to lead these people and have them, take them to be successful to a common goal. And so he may not have had the minimum qualifications when we started it, but it looks like to me that he's certainly qualified now. And so I wanted to point that out. And then the other thing that I'd like to say too is, I really understand some of Councilman Cardwell's concerns about coming in the back door, because, you know, if we had not gone through this process and we had not tried to find somebody, you know, besides our mayor, then I can understand, you know, somebody say, well, they just all got together like in these smoky room, backroom deals. But when I see all these folks walk through the front door of City Hall in support of this, I don't think anymore that if we were to appoint Jeff Harris as the city manager, that we would be considered going through the back door. But that's just my opinion. And I do think he had some genuine concerns.
And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say.
No, I was just gonna echo that, I have never said anything about Jeff's qualifications. My only was a stand of principle that we all agreed on the process. We agreed on how it was gonna work. The majority of those 8 different individuals came to the final 3. Okay. Also want to clarify while we're clarifying. You all know that I've talked to no one on either board to try to sway or otherwise convince them of which way to go. And I know that's been said. That's not true. So would Jeff do a good job? I think he's done a good job. For me, it's not a matter of Jeff not having the qualifications. It's never left my mouth. To me, it's a matter of principle for me. And I've told Jeff that personally. It's not a personal decision. But I appreciate your comments.
Well,
and the only thing I appreciate what, you know, Attorney Fry said, that I wasn't trying to imply that Loudon had to follow that law. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that.
Well, I want to say another thing too. Whenever we interviewed these 3 finalists, there was one question that you asked every one of them. You used the term "fail fast," and I'm sorry. I think that the search that we had done, we are looking at, we're in that position where we fail fast. I don't see that we have been able to identify a clear-cut ideal candidate to hire. And then particularly when you have all these folks, as I said, walking in the front door of City Hall, could you imagine bringing somebody in here now they'd start out with 1 foot in the grave and the other foot on a banana peel. And so I think that it would be important to hire somebody that we know is gonna be able to lead, as Shay said, this very important group of people right here, because they are the best asset that we have.
And that's true. Anything there?
On the foot of fail fast, I get this, I get and understand the sentiment. But on the other hand, we do have a utility board that voted unanimously for one of these candidates. I do find it hard to go against that. And I think if the utility board was sitting here and voting unanimously for Jeff, I don't think we'd be here today. Because I can assure you, you know, if the utility board was in unison, and said, hey, Jeff's the man we want, let's go get him, I would support that. So, you know, for me, you know, again, the aspect, the idea of failing fast. And even to your point, you know, if someone were to come in here now, to be, you know, they'll be heavily scrutinized, and it'd be in a lose-lose situation for them. I don't know what the next step would be. Would that step be to open up this interview process and open it up to internal applicants, or open it up, you know, the way, you know, post a job the way any city or utility job would be posted. That way we have, you know, that I spoke with several, I got the opportunity to speak with several employees, city, utility, and I can confidently say it's a mixed bag. There's a vast majority of people who support Jeff. There's a vast majority of people who would support another candidate. And then there's another section there that is, they don't care as long as, you know, somebody don't come here messing with them. So there's a strong amount of division within our utility and within our city departments right now. And I was standing, Mayor, I really appreciate you being here tonight, and I really appreciate your words. I think it shows a lot when we came here and address this, so I truly appreciate that. I do, you know, last week I said I didn't think that you'd be a candidate had you not been the mayor. And I think you kind of echoed that just now when you said in the past 3 or 4 months you've shown he's the ideal candidate. Before that, he wouldn't have been. And for those reasons, you know, I'm almost, my suggestion is almost to continue this hiring exercise and open it to just a local job posting.
Thank you.
What would that look like?
What does it look like?
I mean, what you're suggesting of a. So I understand, take we're done and say,
Yeah,
we failed fast.
we failed fast.
It didn't produce a candidate that
That we can all-
8 different folks looking at it could agree on.
Right.
So what's the next step?
I'm not 100% sure how that looks. I don't know. I don't know if that opens up again the internal posting that we post, like, you know, as I said, you know, the way we post for a police officer. Because you know I've heard again I've had a great opportunity to talk to a lot of employees, and I've heard a lot of different opinions, a lot of different ideas. And, you know, there are people that I've heard say, well, I know so-and-so wouldn't apply because they respect the job that Jeff could do. I heard so-and-so say, so-and-so wouldn't apply because they never thought in chance they'd get it out of the national search firm. So now we're giving those people an opportunity to put that name out there. And I've been a proponent from the beginning of sticking to our strategic plan of developing a culture that promotes from within. You know, whether that's an employee that's moved up through their ranks here within the city. I think this is a great opportunity to take a look at those type of candidates. Take a look at the guy that started as a trash man that's worked his way up to man or woman that's worked their way up to wherever they are. As for the blueprint, the process, if you will, I don't know what exactly that looks like. But, 30, 45-minute window of open applicants, and then another interview exercise.
Well, I've got a suggestion. You just heard Jeff. You were talking about promote from within. He's been working as a city councilman and the mayor here in government for the last 9 years. If we take the interim out of his title and hire him full-time, he works at the will of the council. If he's not doing a good job, then we can start this process over. I mean, that's what you're talking about, opening it back up and going and looking for other candidates. Give him the opportunity. If it doesn't work out, then we can start the process again.
I think the issue I have with that is he's been elected by the community to be our mayor. He's been elected to lead this council, and that's what the people of the community has elected him to do, to be our mayor. And they put a trust in him to be our mayor. By doing that, we've now created a vacancy. We've created a vacancy of mayor, vacancy which would go into a vacancy as a council member. And the idea of if he's not doing a good job firing, I understand that idea, and I even brought it up. But I'm not one that's willing to be trigger happy and want to fire somebody who just got into their job. I think any candidate that comes to this job needs some grace period. So I'm not going to be quick to the trigger on that, if that makes sense.
And I would agree with that if we put Jeff in, I want Jeff to serve till he doesn't want to serve anymore. And I'll be behind him 1,000%.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold that over anybody's head to say, hey, this is a probation period. Whoever we pick, I'm all in for him. And if it's Jeff, I'll be all in for Jeff. What pains me is how do we take this forward from today and come out of it a unified family? That's what keeps me up at night right now. And how do we not have a division or camps? Because right now we're a family having a discussion. And at the end, we're still going to be friends and hopefully friends in the community. But that's what troubles me, is how do we go forward and maintain the culture, the atmosphere that we've all grown to love. And I'll just throw it out there. That's what's killed me.
I agree with that somewhat, but I'm still at odds to why we cannot give Jeff Harris an opportunity to do what he's doing today. And that's being our city manager and utility manager on an interim basis. I'd like to see it on a full-time basis.
I mean, I don't want to see Jeff do it on part-time. I mean, if I want somebody in full-time, fully committed, because there'll be turmoil for us to figure out after that. We'll have, one empty seat we're gonna have to fill and all that. So, I mean, we got a lot of turmoil ahead of us. So, if Jeff's picked, I don't want him to be interim part-time. I want him to be 1,000% into it and us 1,000% behind me. I said what I said from the start, that I wish we could have had these discussions earlier in the process, and everybody would have said what their druthers were. Because we had, I said, eight different folks, and no one ever said, let's put the brakes on and let's do it a different way. I never heard it. If I missed it, then I never heard that. And we probably wouldn't be here right now. But, I said, that's been my whole point and argument here on it, is that if we wanted to do it internally, somebody should have spoken up before we started this long process, where we end up right here. Now, with that being said, where do we go from this day forward?
See, I just keep looking back. I don't have any, I don't know how to put it on. I don't regret that we have gone through the process, because we wanted to go out and get the ideal candidate. And so we spent money, we put our time and effort into that, but we've not revealed the ideal candidate. And that's why I think that during this process, what we have seen is that our interim person, Jeff Harris, has gone in and has done a remarkable job. And once again, he's gathered all these folks together. And I mean, that's what a leader is, to take people and put them together and utilize their expertise to get the best job that you're going to get out of them. And, you know, I think if he had not been successful at that, you wouldn't have a room full of people here that supports him and wants him. I think all that we've done, what we have done, we have identified someone that can give that 1,000% that you were talking about. And I don't have any doubt Jeff Harris is going to give it his all.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask if we can take a 10-minute break?
Yes, sir, we can. I'll take a 10-minute break.
5:30.
Thank you.
After I offered these two, the website. Oh, well.